Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
Let's get started,
ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the world's greatest podcast.
Yeah, let's dive right in. Welcome back, everyone. And tonight we're going to be talking about not really age gaps. I know that I made the title a little clickbaity, but we're going to be talking about like kind of when one partner starts aging at a different rate than the other partner, and kind of how that can play into things. So,
because I've got that huge 5.5 month age gap with my wife, I can relate to an age gap. Woo-hoo!
Yeah, you're 5.5 months older,
born in '68, right? And I was born in '67. It's crazy.
Yeah. I was going to say she's more mature, but you're definitely older.
It's fair enough.
Yeah, that's everyone thought
that would be the age
was...
gap. She's 10 years more mature than me since we met.
Yeah. So the reason why it kind of came up for me was a couple things. So I'm 41 and I am having my first colonoscopy this week, which I'm having early-ish because of family history of needing
and
it.
The history is, of course, that my family's a pain in the ass.
They are, yeah. You met them. So yeah, I'm having my first colonoscopy, which is kind of no big deal, but like it's Sarah, like as I was getting the prep kit out to like read all the instructions, because it's a whole week of week-long process to kind of prep for, and she was like, oh, sometimes every once in a while something happens and that 4 years between us feels so wide.
Yeah. Well, and also you're doing it 5 years early, 4 years early, so it's like an 8-year gap because you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I also was thinking, so my friend Wes, who was on last month or so, his father died this summer, and he was telling me. So him and Pat and I, who was on the same episode, we were having a conversation 3 weeks ago or so, based on some meme about one of the, or maybe it was a reel about like an age gap thing where the woman was 19 and the guy was 30. And he was saying that that's too big of an age gap. And I started getting into my normal spiel about, I kind of think that like where you
30,
are
15 plus 7, 20, yet too big.
I was saying, like, I think that the 11-year age gap in some points in life isn't as bad as it would be. Like a 19-year-old should not be with a 30-year-old. I think that's fair.
But better than being with an 8-year-old.
Okay, Megan.
Like 11 years, one direction's worse than the other direction.
Oh, yes, I understand. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Which way the 11 years flop makes a difference there.
I thought you were Megan Kellying me for a second there.
No, not Megan Kelly.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, you know,
so I'm 19 and my partner's 11 years different from me, and you're like, older?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. Older's good.
Yeah, didn't even think of that because that's so wild. But yeah, so and his point in counter action,
argument. The word's argument.
Counter argument to my point was, yeah, but you also have to keep in mind that like anything more than 6 years can end up being a big burden on the younger person once you get to caretaking.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad point, but I also think that that's missing, like, to some extent, missing the like. So my parents are 2 years and 1 day apart. No, sorry, 1 year and 364 days apart. And my mom is the younger one, but like that's not an age gap that anyone would bat an eye at, after the age of 18, right? Like 2-year age gap is not a big deal.
That's not. That's why I said about you and Sarah. Like 4 years isn't an age gap. That's a blink.
But my mom is mostly in good health. She's had like knee replacements and a couple of like things like that, but nothing that's like debilitating or life-threatening. That's, like nothing that's going to just continuously get worse, chronic, and get worse until she dies. My dad obviously has dementia, and so like they're in very different states, and now they've been together since she was 19 and he was 21, and so like, but now all of a sudden, she potentially has 35 years left of life, because she's 60. She's gonna be 65, so she could live to be 100. Her father's still alive in his 90s. Her She's got aunts that are still alive, almost to 100. So like, it's not inconceivable that my mom could make it to 100, which 35 more years. My dad, if he has 10 more, is a big deal.
I mean,
Like
you thought the end was nigh 2 years ago. You were worried.
sure, but
Yeah,
also
yeah.
his
I was so saying it
diagnosis
can be
is
any time
yeah,
because
yeah,
he hasn't had great health. He's had
yeah.
different issues. Yeah,
He was well, yeah. We were given the when his first diagnosis, we were told 8 to 14 years. That was almost 8 years ago.
yeah.
Uh, but then that was an Alzheimer's diagnosis. Then they said, well, it's not Alzheimer's; it's just general dementia. And then in the last month, they've said it's Lewy body, which I think is a quicker timeline. But also, I don't have a lot of information on stuff like that because they say like if you're young when you're diagnosed. Now, I don't know if he's a 60 almost 67-year-old man. Is that considered young for that diagnosis?
Well, and
And
he's had the symptoms for a while. They just didn't
yeah,
diagnose it. It's not really when the doctor
right,
notices it; it's when it
right. And so there's
onsets.
a
Yeah,
lot of these weird things,
yeah,
but like ultimately, like my dad could be. It will be unexpected that he's going to live more than 10 more years, or at least be in
but
any
in any
kind
case,
of
your mom's gonna
reasonable
have a lot of time to spend his money with her new husband.
his money. Yeah. But my point being like
Thank you for dialing into Boomer Jokes. We here at Boomer Jokes like to make the kind of jokes Milton Berle would have made.
yeah, but he's so there's that 2 year age gap all of a sudden in the last 10 years has become a significant age gap,
Yeah,
or
it's
not
not, but
because of
it's
the
not an
age as
age gap.
much.
I
It's
mean,
a
well,
health
it's almost
gap.
like
Yeah.
it's that I'm aging a lot faster than Madhavi mentally. Like my
Yeah.
brain is, I'm 20
And
points until
visually.
I'm 20 IQ points lower than I was, 5 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I'm stupid compared to what I used to be. And my memory's gone, my cognitive ability's gone, and she's like popping along like nothing's changed for her. So it's like suddenly
Yeah.
I'm an old man next to her just because
Yeah.
my brain is jujubes. And then you had the gout. I got the gout. Yeah. Once I got the gout, what else is there? I can't even walk. We
Yeah.
walk now. She walks 20 paces ahead of me. She stops and waits for me to limp and catch up to her. And when she senses me a step away, she walks again for 20 more feet.
I do that to Sarah, but that's because if I stop, she will never catch up. She will stop 1 foot behind me, and then I have to keep going.
She
So it's
waits
like
till I'm about to
it's
catch
like
up,
an
and then boom,
asymptote.
she's gone like a gazelle.
Asymptote. I forget how to pronounce that word, but it's like an asymptote line. She'll never completely hit
They're
zero.
always
Just keep approaching.
approaching zero, but never quite hitting it.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no. So I just thought this was an interesting idea to talk about because ultimately, like, I wasn't expecting Sarah and I to get to this point. In our, like she's 37 and I'm 41. Like, and I'm not like in bad health, right? Like I'm not dealing with something chronic, but I'm at the point where it's like all of a sudden I'm having to do all the tests and I'm in the last year I started on about like 15 new pills and like I'm hitting like that medical middle age, and she, even though is technically like according to statistically she just entered middle age,
Oh,
she is none of the like things that come with middle
I want to
age.
add women have a larger life expectancy,
Sure.
so she's even a little more behind you just because of
Right.
gender.
And she loves to tell people that I stole her from the nest. And I'm like, okay, that was funny a while ago, but now I'm a 40-year-old man and you don't look like a 40-year-old woman. So you got to like slow the roll on that. People are going to think that I actually stole you from the nest. And you were 22. And she's like, but I lived with my parents. So, all right. So that's it. That's,
So speaking of 22, one of my best friends is 22 years younger than her husband, and he's 30. No, no, she's
I'm slow on the uptake today.
do the math. Um, I I'm trying to remember when they got together. I think she was in her late 30s, younger than 40, but so it was already. I mean, that's always an age gap.
Yeah.
But the joke was you're going to be changing his diapers. We kept saying like you realize at some point if this marriage lasts, you're going. And now he just had his 80th birthday, and she's my age, so
Yeah.
she's under 60, and he just had his 80th birthday, and they don't actively live together anymore because she's a musician and she's traveling and doing things, and at 80 he's not living in the bus, he's not traveling with her, but they're still married, so when she's in Philadelphia she's with him and they were there, they didn't break up, but but they
Yeah,
can't actively be the typical married couple living together because they're just in different places in their lives.
yeah. So so I think that it can also work a little bit in your favor. So like it's not as big of an age gap, but my grandfather is 14 years older than my grandmother. She's not my biological grandmother, but she's been there my whole life. Um, and 14 years is a big age gap. They met. I don't know when they met because she was my grandmother's friend. So she's been in my family's life for a long time. But they started dating at some point or when he was like 52, 51, 52. So she'd have been 38 roughly. And they got married when he was 55 and she was 40. And so you're like, that's not like a huge problematic age gap at that point. And it'd be easy now. She's 77 and he's 91. It would be easy to kind of be like, oh, this is a big age gap. But like in some ways, yes, it is. But also, he is probably in better shape than he would be in an alternate universe where he wasn't married to somebody 14 years younger than
And
him.
Madhavi is pointing out in the chat that her body is falling apart faster than my brain is falling apart fast, but she's got arthritis and she dyes her hair, so that's why she looks young and hot because we don't even know what color her hair was anymore. And
Yeah.
but but the thing is, I don't think after like age say 30, I don't think
Yeah.
any for both partners being over 30, I don't think problematic is really the issue because you're not
Right.
you. 'Cause, I mean, even in your
Well,
20s, there could be an age gap that's a power structure thing. But I think in your 30s, if there's a power structure thing, then someone younger than you can have power over you. It's not your age that's giving them power over you
well,
anymore.
and I was gonna say until you get to a certain degree, like if you're a 35-year-old and you're with a 90-something-year-old, then there might be a power structure in the other
In the other way,
direction
yeah.
because like, oh, they're not sane, they're not mentally clear
Yeah.
headed enough, and
If they're
I'm making
not,
all. Yeah.
you know,
Right.
I mean,
I'm just.
if I were a single 95-year-old who could still perform sexually,
Yeah.
and like the Anna Nicole Smith syndrome, a
Yeah.
20-something was like, "Hey, I want to marry this old guy and fuck him to death, and get his money over his other parts of his family." At 95, you might say, "Well, that's a better way to go than
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
aiming towards now." And of sound mind, if not body, I'll make that. I'll make that. I'll make that deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And by that time in my life, I will hopefully have already set up enough trusts and shit for Logan and
No,
any
I will
other.
redirect the trusts. Come on.
Sarah's dad asked us a couple of years ago because he's 66, almost 67, but this was 2, 3 years ago. He goes, what would you guys, and he was being very hypothetical. This is not a real thing that's going to happen. And it's not something he's interested in. But he said, what would you guys think if I like showed up with a hot 26-year-old? And my response was, I would think that you're a lot richer than I realized.
That's it.
he,
When we invite a throuple into our marriage later, our kids are going to be like, what the hell? This is not
yeah,
good. Someone's getting our money.
yeah. We've got to find that unicorn.
No, if you're old and have money, it's probably easier. You can put out
True,
when it's a
true.
paid position.
Yeah. Is this going to become the episode where we talk about the legalization of prostitution?
And that's what happens when you have an age gap.
Good. Age gap, thigh gap, whatever.
Yeah. Prostitution is the ultimate business. You got it, you sell it, but you still got it.
Leah says, "Hello, one of your kids here is here watching." Don't worry, Leah. Like he's just being hypothetical. He's not going to be nearly rich enough to do any of the things he's talking about.
No, once I sell
Unless
that,
this podcast takes off. So go to patreon.com slash
patreon.com so that I can have.
so that Matthew can retire. Well, he's retired already, but so that he can enter his geriatric time with the
Well, as I said, it
possibility
needs to be
of a
the way
unicorn.
the way things are looking is it probably needs to be a third for
Yeah, yeah.
our
That's
thruple
why I
to do
said
it. So it's not
unicorn.
Matthew, it's Matthew and Madhavi. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. Well, she's got to go find the person that she wants. Be like, yeah, this is JoJo Dancer, the 20-year-old ballet dancer I met down at the club.
yeah.
he's living with us now.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see Sarah like pulling that one on me, like, can we get a third, and her bringing a guy, not like
It's fun.
really, but like doing it to joke with me.
It's funny. Leah rewatches Friends over and over and over and over and over again. And the episode she was watching today was one where they were like seeing an alternate timeline. You know, you got to do your it's because your It's a Wonderful Life episode, but they're in
Yeah.
the alternate timeline where they didn't all meet. You know, Rachel didn't
Oh
leave
yeah.
her wedding and they didn't all meet. And in it, Ross is still married to his wife, but he's trying to spice up their love life, and he's listening. We can tie each other up, and she's like, "Ew." No, well, we could talk dirty. It's like, "Ew." Oh, we could whip. Ew. We could have a threesome. She's like, "Okay," because in the show from our friend, she's actually a lesbian. So
Yeah.
I guess she jumps on the idea of a threesome, and later in the episode, he's talking about how attentive they were to each other. It's almost like I wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. See, like, I know that that would be like an ego boot or an ego problem for a lot of guys, being like, "Oh, my wife, like was enjoying it more than I was." I would be like, I just sat back and
Yeah, I don't
enjoyed the
think you'd be able to enjoy it more than I did if that were the case.
True, fair, yeah. As long as I don't get left at the end, I'm good.
Right, that's the thing is, and until that, you need to make sure it's the children who lose the inheritance, not me.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, age gap. Back to the age gap thing. So do you? So when we're talking about age gaps, and it comes to like the health problem, the health gap
Which doesn't
thing.
have to be an age gap. That's just a health
Right.
gap.
It doesn't have to be, but do you think that that is a thing we should be considering when talking about regular age gaps? Like, or do you think that that's like as
I
long
think
as
it's a
everybody's
separate
aware?
thing. My son's best friend, his dad has a serious mental decline. I mean, like he doesn't
Yeah.
know his I don't know what his diagnosis is, but like when Joseph goes over there, he's like, "Who's this guy?" And
Yeah.
they used to joke that he was their second son. They've been best
Right.
friends since school, and
Right.
um, and it's not an age thing. It's just what happened to his brain.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's like, I don't think it ties to age. Like I said, my friend whose husband is 22 years older, he's in great health. You wouldn't
Yeah.
know he's 80 except for the fact that his Facebook page is covered with happy 80th birthday party pictures.
Yeah. And that kind of makes me like uh Ricochet Rita says one of her guilty pleasure romance tropes is age gap.
I, so as long as they're over 18, Ricochet, as
Yeah.
long as they're over 18, God,
Yeah.
I hate when she admits to this in public.
Yeah. But anyway, but I think I think when to what Wes had said in that group chat, like about like, oh, you got to like worry about anything over 6 years is is you're increasing the burden, the likelihood of a burden on the younger person, and I get that. I do think
See, but I
it's
think if you're
such
going
a
to look at,
crapshoot though, because like, look at my parents are 2 years, and my mom's dealing with that, and
right,
my grandparents are 14 years different, and they're not really. My
so I
grandmother
think if
does
you're
do
going to
certain.
take that into account, if that's something you're going to say, like, well, when it's age, you have to take the age into account, right? I think then you say what you're really saying is, I want a full medical history, medical record history of your parents, because that's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about
Yeah,
age. I'm worried about what are the percentages for medical things. And you can do that with someone younger than you, just much older than you.
yeah,
It's like the old joke of look at the people's parents and you have an idea of what they're going to be when they get older.
yeah,
But I don't think equating age with medical is
yeah,
useful.
yeah. I also think when you're talking about the medical thing, there is a gender gap on that. Like you mentioned that women live longer typically, like statistically, but also it's unfortunate, but I think you and I both know, and that like statistically, one of the things women have to worry about when they have a long term and or terminal illness is like, is my husband going to leave? Like, is my husband,
I mean,
like,
if you happen to be married to a Republican senator or congressman and you get cancer, he's gone.
yeah, or John Edwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, but I mean, I don't remember where I heard that in the last year or two, but they said like doctors, when they're giving women cancer diagnoses, yeah, that's right, yeah, They say like they basically have to have a talk and be like, just so you know, like your husband might have some very
You need to
bad
keep this a
reactions.
secret.
No, well, I don't think they mean it like that. I think they're trying to like say like this might not be as like obvious to you as it should be, but like you may go home and he may be like, oh well, I'm packing my bags, which is crazy to me. I mean, I don't know about a lot of other men, and obviously it's different. My situation was different with Sarah, but like I dealt with Sarah almost dying, and it was a very short period of time, obviously. But like the idea of abandoning is crazy.
I mean, there's no way to, I guess, see statistics on this or anything, but my guess would be that's a guy who is going to leave his wife anyway, and that accelerated it. Like, yeah, he would like that was a guy who was not going to stay married for until death do us part, and then he's like, "Oh, death is coming sooner than I thought. Time for me to skip. Why go through the painful stuff? I was going to leave in 5 years, but I'll leave now."
Maybe. I mean, that probably plays into it somewhat, but I also think it's like a matter of guys just feeling like, and obviously, I don't think you would do this, and I don't think I would do this, and you don't always know until you get to that situation, but of like, I didn't plan on being a caretaker. I'm not like, I helped with diapers 30 years ago. I'm not helping with diapers now, like, or whatever. And I think there's like an extent to which, unfortunately, women
Well, see,
have been
I think if that was your
society.
mentality, then you didn't plan on aging together anyway, because aging together
Fair.
includes that. You know, like that is,
Yeah,
if you're planning on till death do us part, you do plan on being a caretaker, even if you're at the same age and same physically.
yeah.
It's a caretaking thing, or you didn't think it through that that's
I
what
think
you signed up for.
I think you didn't think it through. I think it's like that idea that like I think everyone knows they're going to die someday, but teenagers don't really understand that. I think that a lot of times when you get married at 25 or 30 or whatever, you're not thinking about 90-year-old you dealing with, 90-year-old Madhavi or 90-year-old Sarah or,
That's why everyone before they get engaged should have to listen to the complete works of Tom Lehrer, because he has a song called oh, I can't remember the name of the song, but it's about May December weddings. But it's about how you should have sex and do wonderful things now because I know you detest me when you're old and gray. You know, it's like this whole song about how we love
nice.
each other now, but one day we're really not going to be into each other anymore.
Yeah. I think the better way about of going about it is once you get to that point, that's when it becomes okay to cheat. Uh, it's like, look, I'm changing your diapers. I'm paying for the unicorn on the corner. So, but I mean, and I think that if you look at like certain, do you watch the show Shrinking?
No,
Oh, I feel
I
like
don't
you
watch
would
any
like it.
shows. I watch things like a year later on some streaming service.
Okay, well, Shrinking's been out for several years, and
Okay, so maybe in a couple of years I'll watch it on a
it's the
streaming
team
service.
that made Ted Lasso. That's why I thought you would have watched it already.
I
But
think I've heard of it, and I heard that it was
yeah.
good, but yeah,
Anyway, it's Harrison Ford. This is not a big spoiler, but Harrison Ford has a
turns
girlfriend on the
into the Red
show.
Hulk at the end.
Yes, yeah, yeah. No, he has a girlfriend on the show, who I don't think that the actress is quite as old as him, but she's not like it's not like a really age inappropriate thing, but she has a husband who has dementia who doesn't know who she is, and that's like a episode he goes and meets the husband. And there was a news reporter in the last 20 years who did like her his girlfriend had a no he had a wife, and she was had dementia, and he took care of her still, but he got a girlfriend. And I'm like, I kind of can't blame those people, like, so like I joke about it, but I
Well,
also
say
think
Harrison Ford, had to go a long way to act about a relationship like that because his wife is 23 years younger than him in real life.
anyway. But yeah, no, I think that um it's something to think about, like, is all, again, not necessarily the age gap, but this gap um in aging and in the health that come the health things that come along. But again, like, it's really not age related, but I so that's why I have a hard time kind of pinning as long as there's not a power imbalance, I don't really have that big of a problem with age gap relationships for that reason. Um, that's why I went with someone so young,
I was saying,
4 years.
more than 6 months younger than me always seemed too young. Like, even in college,
Yeah,
like girls would come to our parties, or I have a class someone younger. I'd be like, wow, she's going to be cute in a year or two. Like if someone was like a freshman when I was a junior, I would look at them as they're going to be cute when they're a junior. Like, but they're
yeah,
not now.
yeah.
I've never been into younger than me, no matter what me is.
I recently, like in the last 5 years, had that like click moment where it's like if I meet a woman who is not like wildly inappropriately young, so like say 24, 25, where it's like it's too young, it's definitely too young, but it's not like, ew, you're a pedophile young, right? It's more like a hemophile. No, look who's quoting Megan Kelly now. No, but like where but where it's that kind of thing. If I meet a 24-year-old woman and I met her mother and they're both attractive, I'm going to be more attracted to the mother. That only happened in the last few years for me.
I
You know what I mean?
remember saying that to a coworker once. So, she was turning 20 and her mom was turning 35 the same week. And I joked to her, I said, if I was going to date someone in your family, it would be your mom.
Yeah,
And then, like you, my math went slow, but then I clicked that if she were 20 and her mother was 35, I wouldn't be telling people that.
yeah, it's true. That's very true. I was saying I had a conversation with somebody yesterday because I knew a girl. I worked with a girl at Home Depot when I was 21. She was like 3 weeks younger than me, and she had a 9-year-old and she had a 7-year-old. And I said like everything I know about Denver. So that woman is 41. She would have turned 41 in like September or October. She has a 29-year-old. Like her older child is probably older than Jacob, right? And she's my age. She's 3 weeks younger than me, and I'm like, that's fucking crazy. But everything I know about Denver is that like that woman is now 41 years old. There's no way in hell she's not a grandparent. You know
That
what I mean? She's got a 29 and a 27-year-old kid. There's no way, which is gross as hell. Like, not that.
I mean, it's not a weird time to be for the kids to be parents. If she's a great
Yeah, yeah,
grandmother,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's more concerning.
And it's not out of the realm of possibility. With unfortunately, but a lot to be
Well,
said
if you're going to
on
have
that
five,
other
six
plate.
kids, you got to get started early.
Yeah, yeah. Well, 3 kids is the max that anybody should be having, and I would say in this day and age, I know that
What are
you're
you, the Chinese government? You're passing laws on how many people, how many
it's
kids they
just
can
over.
have?
Yeah, I will. I also believe that you should have to pass a certain skills test and to have a parent to have child to have a parent.
Keanu Reeves is reborn within you, apparently.
Yeah.
And he makes that speech in Parenthood. You have to
Oh,
pass a test and get a license to drive a car. Well, they'll let any idiot be a father.
nice. I don't remember that. I have not seen. I don't think I've seen the movie version. And I hated the
Did you see the
show.
cartoon adaptation? What?
There was a TV show
Oh, okay.
with
I don't
Craig
watch
T.
TV that
Nelson.
much.
Oh my God! Speaking of aging, my sister texted me a few days ago. She said, Have you watched Poltergeist lately?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "Because we are older than Craig T. Nelson is in that movie." And I was like, "What the fuck?"
I am older than like the entire cast of Cocoon, which is freaky because
Yeah,
they're in an old age home.
and they're all dead now.
I think it's good they're older. I was older than the age they were supposed to be at,
No, I
that
know.
the actors were at the time, and they were playing people in an old age home.
Yeah, you're older than the
And the
Golden Girls
Golden
too, I
Girls,
think. Yeah,
like the plot of the Golden Girls was they just turned 55. You know, Dorothy just turned 55 and retired.
yeah. I tried to get Sarah to watch Cocoon with me. I was like trying to get Sarah and Logan, and she's like, "What is that movie about?" And I'm like, "I don't really want to tell you everything because it'll spoil it." And I said, "But it's about old people, but it's like I watched it as a little kid and I loved it, and I don't remember if it's just one of those weird things that a little
There's a
kid latches
a lot of
onto, or if it
sex in that.
was there."
Well, there was not. I mean, it was probably PG or PG-13. So it wasn't showing sex,
Oh
but
yeah.
Danamichi starts as soon as he gets youthened a little bit, he's cheating on his wife. Like there's like he cheated all through their wedding, including their honeymoon. Now that he's got a little invigoration back in his blood, he's cheating on her again right away. The first thing he does is go sleep with the waitress at the local diner,
No. Okay.
and then um and the girl is, I forget her first name. The actress is Raquel Welch's daughter, I think, if I remember correctly. And she and Gutenberg have a
Tawny Welch.
yeah, they have an alien sex scene, and like there's a huge thing about it because an energy blast comes out of her and just hits him and knocks him on his ass, and he goes, "If that's foreplay, I'm a dead man."
But yeah, I just remember liking it. Being a little kid, you're just randomly like, oh, there's a VHS, and that's like what I can watch today.
Yeah,
So, but smart people need to have more kids to counter the dumb fucks that have five or more kids. I do agree with that.
I had a college professor who was like a hippie, and she was talking about how like her and her friends, her generation, had said not to have kids. Then at some point, she realized, like in her early 30s, the wrong people made that decision. you know, like
Yeah,
people. So suddenly, she had a young child at an older age because of that. Like she suddenly realized I
yeah.
should have kids. My genes should be passed on, and I should be raising a child.
I think that like here's one thing I absolutely think uh, we as a society should start
Societe.
society should start implementing, and I don't mean this 100% seriously, but I think that like we need to like we can't make a license for it, but we do need to just like discourage the shit out of is like here's the question. If you can't answer the right answer to this question, you don't have children, and we tell you you don't have children. That is, if your kids are, and then you list several things, will you still love them? Are your kids gay? Are your kids trans? Are your kids? And if you can't say yes, if you cannot say yes, or you say yes, but now there's some buts that I'm maybe okay, but if you say those things, we're gonna be like, nope, sorry, you should not be fucking having children.
Uh,
And I know that people don't want to hear that, but I've told people, I'm like, you shouldn't have children.
Yeah, but you don't want to be a parent. You want to control someone if you want to make all their life
Yeah,
decisions before they're born. Yeah.
yeah,
But I feel like you should be in the power structure. And here's a TV show that I watched in the TV show Silo. Have you seen Silo? I think it was on
I
Apple TV.
haven't. It's good though, right? That's what I've
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah. But there's a thing where they find it like that. Anyone who's kind of at all revolutionary or independent thinking, you have to win a lottery to have children, and those
Yeah,
people never win the lottery. Like they're it's not a lottery. It's like you're not the you want people who are submissive and will follow the rules. So if
yeah,
you're not submissive, you don't get to have a child.
yeah. I genuinely think like and I think we need to stop encouraging everyone has to have a child.
Well, it should
B
be done by lottery because if you've ever read the Larry Niven Ringworld books, there you have to have a lottery to have children because of overpopulation. But it turns out it wasn't because of overpopulation. It was an alien race who was controlling our government who was breeding for the luck gene because over generations of being lucky and winning the lottery, lucky and winning, lucky to win the lottery,
oh,
you're breeding for luck. So they can get some really lucky humans they can use by sending them on missions, so they'll be successful because they're lucky.
that's that's funny.
Yeah,
I've heard
Larry Niven books are great.
yeah,
He thinks some really unique things like that.
yeah. I do think though like so there's I think there's this I've talked about it with regards to like oh, it's her loss. Like I've talked about that. Like we just say some shit to people that we shouldn't be saying to everybody. And one of those things is like, you're going to be a great dad. You're going to be a great mom. You should definitely have kids. Like, no,
Like Human
we should.
Torch says to read.
Yeah. Well, he then immediately follows it up with, no, you're way out of your depth.
Way out of your
So
league.
yeah. But I think that like we should not be encouraging people that we, unless we genuinely believe it. And one of those things is like, if you are like, I'm gonna kick my kid out if they're gay or whatever, then it's like, oh, then I would outright say to a person, then you probably shouldn't have kids. Uh, like that can change. A lot of people can say that, and it will change, and they won't actually end up becoming that person. And so I don't want to gamble on that, like, because I don't want to like say like, oh, maybe they'll get better, but I'm not completely negative on it, but I would say like don't have kids until you fix that problem in yourself.
So our most regular listener in the live chat Ricochet Rita is a military wife and also a flaming liberal.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm reading her
and
comments.
yeah. So let me read her comment to the chat. Um, when I was surrounded by other military spouses who screamed conservative, I would wait until the right moment to mention that I want my kids to feel like they have to come out to me as straight. And she followed
Nice.
it up with, "It's a good way to find friends, like-minded people who will recognize the joke for what it is."
Yeah, that's good.
There was a
Oh,
time actually where Jacob was in college and hadn't dated anyone, and before he met his wife, and we asked him, we said, "Are you just not telling us about your life? Are you gay?" And he's like I would, like I think I would have to be quiet about it if I was. Like you're the
right.
one parent, so you don't. No one worries about what we have to tell you. We know we can
Yeah.
tell you anything. He just
I'm
hadn't met a woman
actually,
that
it's
checked off
actually
his
that I'm just,
criteria yet.
I'm secretly conservative, and I only am attracted to conservative women. That's why I haven't told you. That would be funnier. Um,
But that's not one of your questions, though, right? Was that one of your things, or what if you do if you find out your child is conservative?
no, I would still
Was that
love
on your
Logan. I
list?
mean, that was tested within me because my child
I know
was
you had the patience to beat it out of him.
I trained it out of him. No, I told you about maybe a month or so ago when another kid was saying something was gay, and he was like, "But why is that a bad thing?" And he just kept whying them, and he was like, was it street epistemologizing or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and he was just like doing it, and they were like, "He's driving me crazy." I'm like, "You said something dumb," and my kid is like, "Well, why would you say it like that?" Like, and I'm like, I was so proud. And that's what I did was I just I mean Logan, even though he would joke about like he would say things that I joked about being conservative, like he's never done much of that. He did. We did
But he
catch a
voted for
video where
Trump.
yeah. Actually, he is hanging out with some Trumpers, so that's not great. But um, right now, we're working on like trying to actively figure out how to not dissuade him because he hasn't gone down that road, but like when the red pill manosphere videos that are
Yeah, he's big on
targeted at
YouTube
him,
and stuff, so eventually he's going to fall down that rabbit hole of seeing something that's not
right? But also like
not cash money.
yeah, but the fact that he was saying like like why is being gay bad? Why are you
Yeah,
saying it like
he
it's
seems
being
like
bad?
he's got a good
Like
base so far.
that's yeah for a 9-year-old I think or that's a pretty good start for like not falling down that rabbit hole. You're never foolproof in that, but like hopefully we're avoiding that, and I do worry because between my nephews and my and some friends kids and every there's a lot of kids that are in that age range where it's like these kids are going to be targeted
Leah had
for
friends, I mean, mostly boys who were friends like come who had crushes on her and stuff. Like the
right.
kinds you joke about, oh, one day when they're older, who went hard right, and Leah went so far like I can't talk to them anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Even I mean, as a kid, while she was still in school, like obviously not in the fiery spirit that she is now, but even when she was young, once I started turning that way, she couldn't handle it. She like
no,
can't be friends with them.
I would be nervous if I had a daughter. I'd be nervous about my daughter being around guys like that. I'd be nervous about my son being around guys like that too. I mean, like it's 9-year-olds who are conservative are not the same as 13 or 14-year-olds who are conservative, right? Uh, so like they're just like, I think Trump's the better leader. He's going to have lower taxes. Like they're really surface level when they talk about politics.
That's every Republican.
True, true, especially around here, like in the People's Republic of Cary. Um, but all right, I am hungry for the few foods that I can eat this week. Uh, and if you're
I am
listening
grilling
to
up
that
some
and don't understand that reference, that's because you missed the pre-show stuff. And you should check that out on patreon.com/slash talking about the big stuff. But we will wrap up the subject before we go right into that.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of old age, now that I got the gout, I will be having turkey burgers for dinner tonight instead of hamburgers because I hate something made out of turkey, not out of ham, like hamburgers are. That's
Nice.
funny. The first part of hamburger is the word Hamburg. Is the addition. It's not ham burger, which is weird that we say turkey burger
Yeah.
and cheeseburger and chicken burger because burger is not the part of the word. It's hamburger. It should be chicken hamburger or turkey hamburger. You
Yeah.
know, ham's not the
Or
meat.
chickener or turkerer.
Or exactly.
All right. So where do we come down on this age gap thing? We're both in
I
favor.
come down on the fact that I don't think age gap means anything as long as there are two consenting adults age gap, and consenting in part with no power structure. Like, it's another issue. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
power imbalance is an issue. Health imbalance is not an issue, but something to take into account and know that you have to
Yeah.
deal with in your life. But
And
age is
knowing that
just a
some of that is
number
a
because it
lottery
doesn't
system.
automatically mean the other things. The things we worry
Yeah.
about, to me, in an age imbalance is really other stuff that we just say, well, that typically happens with age, but it's
Yeah.
not the age that you're really worried about. The
Yeah.
number is not the important
It's
thing.
a more likely breeding ground for those problems as
Yeah, I
opposed
think more
to
likely get a full medical workup before you marry someone.
yeah. I want to find out what alleles you have that are going to be likely to, get.
Which can be scary things. We have a friend whose first
Oh, yeah.
child had a lot of birth defects because of a like like one in a million, like, kind of genetic thing. Like, he was Jewish, she was like German, like, he was Middle Eastern Jewish. Like, they had no genetics in common. It was like
Yeah.
nothing. Like the odds of their two random alleles being genetically incompatible were just like so small. But it kind of happens. But that kid is actually an adult now and doing amazingly well. So it's even that, even knowing you're going to have a medical imbalance doesn't
Yeah.
mean you can't do it right.
Yeah. And I know this is like fiction that I'm about to dive into for a second, but like one of my favorite things, well, tropes, back to the trope idea, is I love when you know that it's not going to work out perfect, and you'd still go back. You're like, you've seen the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind,
Is that a
Matthew?
TV show? I don't watch those.
It's a movie from 20 years ago, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I'm familiar
And
with it. I know the plot, but I haven't seen it.
anyway, at the end of the movie, you kind of realize that like these two people are going to do the thing again that they've always done, because they just are so attracted to each other that they can't help themselves. And there's something about that I think is like romantic and sweet. Is like, like ultimately that idea of like, even if I knew that this was going to end this shitty way, I wouldn't have chosen not to do it. Like, oh, if I had known you were going to get, you know, whatever disease and die, at the age of 55 or whatever, I wouldn't have. I said 55 because you're past that, just so we're clear. And
Barely.
that's far on the horizon. That's far away from
Yeah.
me. That's why I picked that age. But when like, I would have chosen to live my life that way anyway. I like that feeling. I don't want to regret. I want to regret things that I did wrong, not things that I didn't love the outcome of. You know what I mean? Like, I voted for Hillary, but just because she lost doesn't mean I did the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I think there's an importance to that
It
as
does.
well.
You didn't volunteer enough. You didn't go knocking on doors, and you didn't get the vote out. Thanks a lot.
I was in Massachusetts.
Just
She
voting
won.
wasn't
She
enough.
won.
I know. You can go to. You can drive to another state.
Yeah.
Go north of state.
Yeah. So anyways, let's start doing the before you start berating me for not doing enough 9 years ago for Hillary Clinton, when I voted for her despite my like not my desire not to vote for her, because I was deeply
You had been.
anti-Hillary pilled, for
Yeah.
30 years of being told how bad she was. Still voted for her because I knew she was better than Trump. Um,
You get a lot of points for knowing that.
yeah,
Hey, you know what
yeah.
that reminds me of? If you're watching the video right now, go ahead and like the video. If you're watching even one of our clips, like one of our clips. Subscribe to our channel so you can get all of our videos. Ring the notification bell so when we go on 15 minutes early, 15 minutes late, you know we're going on. We know a new video is being dropped. You want to know those things. Make comments in the chat below if you want to make comments. That helps the algorithm, and it helps you feel like you participated, even though it was a week after we recorded this. That being said, you could hear everything live if you would do one little thing. And what is that thing, Michael?
Subscribe.
No,
I know that's not the thing you're meaning, but if they
yeah.
subscribe, they can watch the whole thing live. No, if you go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, there's 4 options for you. One of them is free, and you'll get to watch these live. But the other ones are good because we'll edit it for you. So we cut out all the ums and ahs, and or not all of them. I cut out some of the ums and ahs, and that the $1 option gets you not quite everything, but you're early. The $3 option gets you a bunch of extra stuff, and the $10 version gets you that pre-show talk that we always have. This week, it was really good about my medical, like kind of the impetus for going into this was, talked about a bit. And so, yeah, it's if you want to talk about my butt camera, that's what I have it on as the
Yeah,
calendar
and the
as.
$10 patrons are going to get copies of the video.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry. Before we sign off, I have one quick thing to tell you. This is so my uncle was one of the very first people to get LASIK, like in '96 or whatever. Like we had not heard of it, and he got it, and then he brought the DVD of the surgery or whatever. It might have been a VHS at that point to Christmas at my grandfather's house. And they put it on the TV while we were fucking eating dinner, and we were all like, "Why are we watching this surgery?" And he was like, "It's really cool, right? I can see without glasses now, guys." So I texted my mom and my dad and my sister a few weeks ago and said, "Hey, do you guys remember when Uncle blah 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 had his surgery and we all watched it during Christmas dinner?" Well, complete non sequitur, but I have a colonoscopy coming up on December 11th. And I was like, I might go to CVS and buy like a blank DVD and just Sharpie on it like the date of my colonoscopy and stuff and be like, I brought stuff for us to watch. If Matthew had a nickel for every friend named Mike who got a butt camera this year, he'd have 2 nickels. I haven't gotten the butt camera yet, so I think that Sarah's hoping I will like chicken out on that, but I think she's a little nervous. But Logan's nervous because he's like, because I jokingly said like, just so you know, I'm not going to be able to eat on Wednesday, so I might be grumpy, and he was like, "Is Dad going to be okay?" Like I could hear him before we were recording. He's like, "Is Dad going to be okay?" I'm like, "I'm going to be fine. I have fat
Just
storage for
I
this."
have to poop for an entire day before I go to the doctor. That's why I'm going to
Yeah.
be
I
grumpy.
said it's not like a medical. I said the reason why I have to not eat is so that I don't have poop in my system, so that the camera. And I said can't see shit, and then I said, well, it will be able to see shit.
I tell you, don't underestimate the spending a day on the toilet the day before.
Yeah, I'm just
It's
hoping it kickstarts like me like having a decreased appetite, and
no,
if I
you're
could just
starving because your stomach is empty.
yeah, I'll eat, but like I'm hoping to not like get back up to what I've eaten
Mm-hmm.
recently. So anyway, go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
So you
And
can hear us talk about this big stuff, like his big asshole.
yeah, yeah, and the big camera that's about to go up it.
And for those of you who stayed to the very end to hear us talk about the big stuff and our age gap, we like big age gaps and we cannot lie.
Yep. And I don't love the way that we said that in the era of the Epstein list. So he means between each other.
Yeah, he and I.
Yes.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.